Working with a narcissist is an emotional roller coaster. While you can laugh about the framed picture of themselves on their desk and how they can tell the most inflated stories about the most boring topics, there's a dark side to it too. You're constantly walking on eggshells because you fear their disapproval or teasing. You feel drained, disrespected, degraded, and it seems impossible to talk or not to mention to criticize them. If you're working with a narcissistic boss or colleague, this video is for you. We'll talk about different ways to deal with a narcissist at work, for example, the gray rock method, so stay tuned. Hey there, thanks for tuning in again. My name is Ava and I'm psychologist and head of content at FlowLab. If you're new here, we discuss everything around psychology, self-improvement and productivity on this channel. We still see most people watching our videos without subscribing, so here's a quick reminder to like and subscribe and hit the little bell to get notified when we upload new videos. This is a great support and helps us to produce more videos in the future. Also, we have a mental fitness app that helps you increase focus, motivation and flow states with science-based guided meditations. There is a 7-day free trial, and if you like, don't miss your chance to get 50% off the yearly subscription. All you need to know is in the description below. Narcissists aren't simply arrogant people. People with a narcissistic personality disorder show a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, need for admiration, and lack of empathy. They act in their own best interests, even if that means exploiting or degrading others. Working with a narcissist is exhausting on so many levels. You'll have a hard time communicating with them because the world just revolves around them. You won't feel comfortable giving honest feedback because they'll twist the truth and make you feel guilty for criticizing them, not to mention the stress when receiving feedback from them. In the end, they'll create a culture of blame and finger pointing. You'll hesitate to bring in your own ideas because you know they'll belittle them or make fun out of you when your thoughts don't fit their worldview or desires. Narcissists need a lot of attention and admiration. They like to tease and challenge others. They lack empathy and won't genuinely accept criticism. I know this sounds very drastic. In the real world, it can be much more subtle though. We talked more about what narcissism is and how you can identify a narcissistic boss or colleague in an earlier video that I'll link in the info box for you. Go check it out if you haven't watched it yet. If you let them get under your skin, it may be that you start doubting yourself, that you feel somehow inadequate and become overly self-conscious and perfectionist to avoid making any mistakes. You feel guilty or ashamed for things where you looked at it from a little distance, don't need to feel guilty or ashamed for. The bruises that narcissists cause aren't always visible from the outside, but that doesn't make them any less hurtful. So if you're in that spot where you need to work with a narcissist, here are a few things you can do. Narcissists are masters at finding someone's weak spot and playing with it. They can make you question your worth and sanity and increase overthinking and self-doubt. What's important to understand, though, is that their behavior has nothing to do with you. Narcissism in its pathological form is a personality disorder. How they behave is not a reflection of your worth as an employee or human being. That's why the foundation when working with a narcissist is to develop a stable self-worth. When you have a solid foundation of self-esteem, you're better equipped to navigate their manipulative tactics and resist their attempts to undermine your confidence. You'll be less likely to internalize their criticisms and more able to recognize their behavior for what it is, a reflection of their own insecurities and shortcomings. Of course, developing a stable self-worth is a huge topic on its own and incorporates various shades. It's about cultivating a deep sense of self-respect and self-acceptance. It's about how you talk to yourself and which image you've created in your mind about yourself. It's about recognizing your own strengths, values, needs, and contributions, and owning them with confidence. We can make a separate video on this topic as well. In case this is interesting to you, just let me know in the comments below. The thing is, you will need to manage your expectations. If you're indeed working with someone having a narcissistic personality disorder, so not someone with just one or two annoying narcissistic tendencies, you can't expect understanding from them or bringing them back to senses. So rather than trying to convince them with reason, make sure to fill your own cup. Really take time to develop a realistic self-image. What are you good at? Which value do you bring into the team? Which weaknesses do you have? Which priorities, values, passions do you have? What do other people apart from that narcissistic boss or colleague appreciate about you? You can even ask close people around you or colleagues you trust how they perceive you to get a more complete picture. To counterbalance any self-doubt, actively pay attention to compliments and positive feedback you get. We're prone to remember the negative much better than the positive feedback we get, something called negativity bias. So if you like, you can even jot down these compliments and nice words to read through and remind yourself of them in moments of overwhelm and self-doubt. Deliberately practice self-care. Reflect on your needs, physical, mental, emotional, and allow yourself to prioritize them. And while self-care is often associated with a hot bathtub or joining a yoga class, it can also mean to set boundaries. You probably experienced that a narcissistic boss regularly oversteps a line. Since they have an inflated sense of self-importance and lack empathy for others, they'll likely disregard the needs and feelings of those around them. They'll use hurtful nicknames, blame you for something they have done themselves. They can be quite demanding and may try to monopolize your time and attention. Narcissists might even try to talk you into violating rules if this is to their advantage. By setting clear boundaries around your availability, workload, and responsibilities, you can create a sense of control and predictability in your work life and speak up for yourself. Generally, surround yourself with people who are loyal and who appreciate you, both at work and also in your private life. Find allies at work who you trust and who maybe have had similar experiences with that person. Be careful not to gossip around though, as this can always circle back to the narcissistic person and in the end fire back. Of course, you can always consult a therapist too to get professional guidance through this entire process. Next to building a healthy sense of self-worth, there are two different ways of dealing with a narcissistic boss I want to talk about. Avoid or admire. Depending on your triggers, past experiences, or character, one or the other approach may fit better. There is no one-size-fits-all solution, so I'm rather trying to give you options here that you can experiment with. Let's start with the avoidance aspect. I won't beat around the bush. If you can, quit the job. Leave a toxic workplace and find a place where you can flourish, where you are supported and appreciated. You don't have to put yourself up with people who manipulate and humiliate you. But of course, there can be arguments for staying in that job too. You may be lacking alternatives, or maybe you know exactly what your mission is and working towards that is more important to you than quitting a job because of a difficult boss. If you decide to stay there, you can still choose to avoid them the best way possible. One way to do that is to avoid drawing their attention or providing them with a target. According to the gray rock method, becoming as boring and unremarkable as a gray rock will make the narcissist lose interest in trying to get a reaction out of you. You become emotionally uninteresting and unresponsive to the narcissist's attempt to engage or provoke you and instead respond factually in a neutral and matter-of-fact tone. You limit your interactions as much as possible, don't share any personal information about yourself, and perhaps even play busy when they try to involve you in their drama. With the gray rock method, you don't feed their toxic patterns. You neither support their inflated self-view, nor do you let them attack you. You're choosing the line of least resistance. Focus on your own goals and passions. Stay polite and don't make any waves. Make sure to gradually reduce your contact and validation though, rather than withdrawing from one moment to the other to prevent them being hurt. Another approach to work effectively with a narcissist is to play the game with them. Especially when you're working closely together and therefore can't avoid them, you can try to give them the admiration and praise they seek to minimize conflict. This tip isn't for everyone though, and should be used with caution and moderation. Yes, it's somehow manipulative too. but it may be a compromise and maybe a good outcome for everyone involved if this is how you can reach a shared goal. It's important, though, that you stay true to your values and don't compromise your integrity. Also, don't feed their ego too much, but rather try to use it in situations where it's appropriate and necessary. In practice, this can mean to acknowledge their contribution or input before proposing a different idea, framing an argument around what's good for them personally, or pretend something was their brilliant idea. For example, when creating a business pitch together, you could say something like, "That's a very smart idea to tell the investors your personal connection to the topic and add more color to our pitch. I remember, though, that you told me some time ago that this one VC appreciates facts and figures, so how about going after this idea and hooking them with our latest conversion rates?" Also, keep records, ideally by communicating via email and text messages, and document whatever could help you in case you plan to approach HR. As mentioned earlier, depending on your preference and the context, some strategies fit better than others. But I hope this video could show you a few options on how to work with a narcissistic boss or colleague. If so, it would be fantastic if you could support us by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the FlowLab channel, and hitting the bell to get notified when we upload new videos in the future. Other than that, I wish you all the best, take care, and see you next time.